You've probably heard the phrase, it takes a village or a community, but you've probably heard that as it refers to, like raising a child or something personal. But that also applies when it comes to a business, and particularly when you're the steward of employees and, because of that, 7 degrees of Kevin Bacon, their families and your broader community. As a business owner, you really do have a broader responsibility to the community itself. And our guest today is going to talk about the impact of that and his business. Jeff Schwartz of Ashton Environmental is here with us today, and he's going to be diving in what it means to be a business owner, to be a steward, not only of your employees, but also what it means to be deeply involved in your community. And when it doesn't really come down to is starting with just the idea of ROI. So I can't wait to invite you into this conversation and how it can really reframe how you may think your business is interacting with the community and the impact that that has back within your business. This episode is sponsored by Genesis AEC, Steel Toe Communications, and this episode is also sponsored by Illuminate. Well, Jeff, welcome to the Breakout Moment. I'm so happy to have you here today. And really excited for you to we share somewhat similar stories, of entrepreneurship, some family background too, and some inspiration there. So right. Why don't you kind of kick us off and talk about, how you got started and what you thought you were going to do and how you ended up climbing trees.
All right. Well, first, thanks for having me here. I'm excited to be able to be part of this and share my story. But I would say growing up, I had a twin brother, and when I look back on different big moments in my life, in elementary school, I had one particular teacher that really kind of made it clear that she thought I had some significant learning differences. She was probably right. And she also made it clear to my parents and I that they should kind of lower their expectations, that I probably wasn't going to really excel at maybe anything in life. So,
wow.
Looking back, that was kind of one of these moments where I was like, okay, I hear what you're saying, I'm processing it. And I think that sort of became a charge, both subconsciously and consciously, that I was going to find a way to excel in life, both personally and professionally, and I'll prove you wrong type of thing.
I think entrepreneurs kind of have a little bit of that in them.
Right.
Yeah. Hey,
right.
don't. My parents used to always say, we would tell you what not to do so you would do it.
Right. A little reverse psychology.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. So, all right. So what'd you do with that?
I actually, through my high school years, I started my first business was mowing lawns in the neighborhood, like a lot of people in landscaping maybe do. And I recall that I really didn't think I wanted or needed to go to college. And fortunately, both my parents really did put an emphasis on higher education, and I did end up going to college and getting a degree in environmental science. And I felt like, you learn so much going through college, not often about what's in the classroom, but everything else and some of the adversities you go through. And coming out of college, I got into environmental consulting and found that world to be very heavily regulatory, government focused, and mostly felt like nothing sort of ever got done. And it almost felt like that was by design. Lots of studies, lots of inventories, permit processing. And I fast realized that I just didn't have the patience for that kind of environment. And then I shifted gears and started working for a local company that does a lot of environmental mitigation projects, restoration type of work, and I really did find that I enjoyed that. And I also learned a lot that I didn't know about sort of the tougher parts of the business, I guess, and just so many aspects from cradle to grave of bidding a job, even before that, trying to develop relationships to get the opportunity to bid a job. And so I worked there for a bit, and then after that, I shifted gears actually, and in part based on my growing up, my father was in the high-tech world, and that seemed like a really good way to make a career, and I think he was hoping that one of his children might go into that.
Yeah.
And so I did. I ventured into the high-tech world for a time. And it was interesting. I tell people, I feel like I was probably getting paid more money than I really should have been. It was a time of my life where there was a lot of fun to be had in that world, and trainings, and then the happy hours and limo nights and some of that kind of glamorous boom high-tech adventure things were going
.com
on.
era,
.com,
perhaps?
late .com.
Yeah.
And I vividly remember I was putting on a suit and tie every day and going to work in Northern Virginia. And I remembered still on the weekends, I was doing what I loved doing, which was landscaping and climbing trees. And it became kind of a 7-day work week cycle. And I always kind of remember my Monday morning commutes to Tyson's Corner, kind of just the difference in that world and the world I was in during the weekend. And, after a period of time, I moved around one or two companies there. And I actually, during that time, as much as what I learned, I didn't like the people, I didn't like the culture, and I really got a good lesson in that cultural piece. And I think it was the first time in life where, they say, like, it doesn't really matter what you're making if you're not happy and your people. And I had the money part. I was making good money, but I didn't feel like I fit the culture and the people I was with. And I was still tipping my toe in that most weekends. And so after some adversities through that, it was funny. I actually had success there. I was selling things, even though I was not really in my element. And by that time, I had actually gone back to school and gotten a master's degree in environmental science. And so here I am with these 2 degrees. I'm selling high tech. And that was really what launched me back into landscaping and really gave me kind of the confidence that I needed to say, let's just start a business and partly see how it goes. And I started small. I know and I've mentored and enjoyed mentoring and coaching a lot of people along the way, about just taking that leap of faith, jumping in, getting things started. And I started a business with myself and 3 people. And I'm proud to say one of the 3 is still working with me today.
Wow.
The others probably would be, but there was just different life circumstances that changed for them. And going back to those days, I had 1 truck and me and 3 guys, and you sink or swim. You have to do everything yourself. I've tried to, take what I've learned now and help people that are in that phase. But I didn't have the business acumen. I've given guest lectures at the landscape technology program at Montgomery College, and I always tell these students, take a business class, take an accounting class. Mm-hmm. Those are things I never took in college, not even one. And I had to learn because I was doing the estimating, payroll, insurance relationships, all of that right out of the gate.
Chief Everything Officer?
Pretty much.
Yep.
Wearing all hats. And I was really energized by it. It was incredibly rewarding. It was hard. I'm glad I did it when I was younger. I think starting a business now in your mid-50s would be a monumental task.
A lot of people do, though. I saw a statistic about that the other day, that the average age for starting a firm is like mid-40s, mid-50s. It was like, wow. Holy heck. I started at 30.
I'm glad I started early.
Yeah, same.
it can encompass your life, especially if you're going to be successful.
Yes.
And so, as I look back on our growth, next year we'll be in business 25 years, and we have been profitable every year of the 25. We've never really hit a bump in the road and had a tremendous off year or a year where, we lost money or wasn't profitable. Some years we've exceeded our goals more than others. But along the way, I think coming out of that high-tech world and remembering sort of the cultural and the people piece, I've definitely, I think it's been more of a focus. A lot of companies say they focus on their people and their culture, but
yeah, that feels like a record and an easy thing to say.
We have the documented path, and we've along the way, I can remember each key hire, and the contracts are nice and they keep the company growing, but we really have been able to attract, best in class people to our company. And when I moved about 12 years ago, I moved into more of a commercial, large size facility in Ashton, and it really helped because we just had a place now to call office and call work that matched the quality and the level of work we were doing in the field.
That's interesting that the environment needs to almost inspire.
It does. And I think that when I think back, what has propelled our growth to over 100 employees now from the 3 we started with and probably over about 55 trucks. One of my many business advisor mentor people brought to me a group called Vistage, and it's probably been almost 12 years for that. And it's something I highly recommend to anybody will listen. And there's multiple groups out there. I happen to be in Vistage, but being in a peer advisory group of some kind has really helped me have a sounding board for a company like ours that doesn't have a board of directors. Right. It's just a place where, as an owner, you're able to, unload things, talk to people about problems. I find more and more it's less about the type or the sector, the industry a business is in. The problems are so broad, so much more common than you think.
Oh, 100%. And it doesn't matter the size either. I can have smaller team, same problem that you have with a larger team, that someone who has 500 employees is going to have the same problem.
Absolutely.
It's just a different scale of the problem normally.
I used to tell people as I was mentoring people along the way, it's just a matter of how many zeros are after your problem.
Yes.
The problems are really the same problems.
Yep.
It's just the size and scale. And it doesn't mean that owner has less stress or less headache than the bigger company. So through that organization, there's several things that came out of there that have stuck with my company. One big one is our AME Way, which is a system of 30 fundamentals. And it's really a way of what I learned through that process was no matter what, if you have a vision statement or you have a culture, if you think you don't have a vision statement or a culture, you have something.
You have something.
You have something. And
yes, you do.
You can either formalize it and help mold it, or you can just let it evolve into whatever's going to happen. And so we made a big, meaningful step, and we started this for 30 fundamental program. And rather than having a vision statement on the wall that you expect everybody to memorize and everything, the 30 fundamentals to us are more about the behaviors, the actions that we want for our company, how we treat our clients. And to me, they're small, short, simple. We do a new one each week. Some people say 30 is too many. We could argue about that however long you want. But the fact is, they give us a common language. And whether it's be fanatic about response time, whether it's, think safe, work safe, keep things fun, make healthy choices. I believe that they just provide these guiding principles. If you're not sure, or if you're having a difficult inter-office conversation, everybody sort of can speak the same language and help hold everybody equally accountable across the board. And we get feedback from our clients. It's on every email that goes out. And
I've seen it.
If we've dropped a ball or something, oftentimes the clients will read our fundamental of the week and remind us that we missed it. And we like that. We want our clients to help hold us accountable where we make a mistake. Another thing, speaking of mistakes, we have a mistake policy that's sort of everywhere ingrained in the company. And it's really simple and basic, and we share it with our clients all the time. Rather than try and pretend that everything we do is going to be perfect, every project is going to go swimmingly, perfectly.
That doesn't exist.
I want people to make mistakes. I want people to fail forward and learn from those mistakes.
Now, how do you encourage your team to I mean, we all say like create a safe space, but
Yeah.
it's one thing to say it, it's another thing to actually do it.
I mean, I think this notion of psychological safe workspace right now is a buzzword. It's very popular.
It is.
And I think at a minimum what we do is it's posted throughout the company, it's referred to, it's talked about. I think that you need to constantly pay attention to that, and you need to constantly find and recognize examples, just like you want to positive praise, and encourage certain behaviors. How you respond, react to mistakes. One of our fundamentals also is blameless problem solving. They sort of go hand in hand, but they also can conflict a little bit. But I think
there's a difference between blame and accountability.
Right. And also part of this mistake policy is just not to deny it and don't dwell on it. A mistake has happened. We don't want to waste more time and energy worrying about what happened, the problem, who did it. But truly, and in our business, it happens regularly.
It happens in every business.
A wrong tree shows up. We make a mistake. From a near miss accident, you name it, and
you're in a dangerous industry. You really are. People don't realize that.
We are, and I think probably the single thing since I've started this business from day one, when I was the guy climbing the trees and then ultimately teaching somebody else how to climb trees, for me as an owner, making sure every single person in my company goes home the way they came in, to their families, to whomever, it permeates everything we do, from a mistake policy, from our AME way. We've talked about it even where our estimating department, estimating team, they can impact safety. If they plan a job or estimate a job, maybe not using the right equipment or trying to cut a quarter, it's going to put our team at risk around a safety issue.
And that's not worth it.
It's not worth it. There's no job worth it. And it's something that is very much on my mind, and fortunately we've not had any catastrophic injuries, but we've had a few significant ones over the years.
And those leave a lasting impact. What do you think? So we're talking about risk. Obviously, someone getting injured or hurt is the ultimate risk. A lot of other companies, we don't think about risk that way. I think more about, data risk, any kind of intellectual property risk. It's more what I have to worry about, especially with stewardship of client data. Mm-hmm. But all of it is risk. But when we, as owners, think about risk too, thinking back, can you talk a little bit about a time when you've had to take a calculated risk and how you assessed that? Because I feel we make 50 calculated risks a minute some days. Constantly.
So it's interesting. The first thing is one of our fundamentals is take intelligent risks.
Okay, I hit a fundamental.
We certainly want our team to take intelligent risks. To your point, you're constantly from where you're going to get gas that morning to where you're going to park a truck. You're making those all day. I think that there's a couple that stick out to me. Early on, maybe 2008 when the market was slowing down, I remember sort of vividly at that point, and we made a bit of a conscious decision to dip our toe into public work. And I had a lot of people that were kind of like guiding me away from that. There's a lot of risks in it. There's a lot of exposure in it. Some from physical. Some of it was state highway work, so you're putting your crews on the sides of the highways.
Yeah.
Most of our work was significantly off the highway in the environmental space, but I remember when we won our first $1 million job, and for that job, we had to post our first bond. So there was a whole process of getting bonded, which I never really understood. So going through the financial review, earning the right to be able to get a bond at a reasonable rate, and then bidding these jobs, and we finally get one of these jobs. And as you're bidding them, you're taking this risk that you're going to get one of them.
Right.
And, when you get your first $1 million job, it's a significant jump up, it's a bump, and it changes, and it has a ton of, once you're bonded on a job, you're stuck there. You have to perform, you have to perform well, meet or exceed the actual specs of a job, which there's a lot on these state highway jobs. And so I kind of remember that time frame of maybe one risk was deciding we're going to bid on that work, with the unknown that we'll get one of them. Then you finally get that first $1 million job, and I kind of remember that feeling of like, okay, we got the bond, we bid the job, we're the low responsive bidder, and now it's time to actually perform and show up and do the job that we said we could do. And that was stressful. It was, we were a far smaller, leaner group, and we were doing things on a size and scale that we'd never done before. Getting back to the people, I was able to attract new employees that have experience doing those size jobs, and better systems, processes that allowed us to jump in. We did figure it out on the fly a bit, and really were able to complete that first job. It was profitable. There was a big exposure around warranty replacement issues, and we navigated it, and we did it well. So that's certainly one of the kind of risky jump-in type of things.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think about just in general, so many times we have to jump into things before we know all the ins and outs of how to actually do it. And you're not going to admit that, right? But it's the only way that you're going to open up a new division or move into a different vertical or expand geographically, or it's the only way that happens is if you're willing to try and willing to fail.
Absolutely.
And if you do, learn from it and move on.
If you look at now the complexity of these multi-million-dollar jobs that we do, the actual nuts and bolts of the work and the skill sets are far different than things that I'm comfortable doing. And I certainly wouldn't really be comfortable running up and climbing a tree today. And so you have to constantly be willing to, be humble and be aware of where your strengths are and where they're not, and make sure that you create an environment that people want to be part of. And you have to be willing to really just be incredibly humble about what you need help with. And it's, making sure that you attract those smart people, the talented people around you that can handle all the aspects of the jobs that as our company's grown and expanded.
Starting as small as you did, can you remember or pinpoint when you had that moment where you realized, oh, this is beyond me now?
Yeah, it's funny. The company has had a relatively steady growth rate. There have been some big blips in there.
Well, that's called the market.
The market and just, I can't think of a single moment or time, because when I look back, when I started this company, I didn't have a 10-year plan, and I didn't have a formal business plan by any means, and I don't know that I would have been able to predict the growth, the trajectory, the path that we now are on and can look back on. I feel like I have a better clarity. My business acumen has grown tremendously, and that I can predict that now for the next 5 or 10 years, more so than I could have for the last 25. And I think through the people in the company, through the reputation we've built, the growth is different now, and it's far more on reputation. It's far more on our relationships with our clients that have now grown to know, like, and trust us. And I think we have constant examples where clients are coming to us so that we can help them navigate these complex jobs, whether it's on the environmental side to a full turnkey commercial project. I always tell my team, we don't get the simple, straightforward projects. As we've grown in this area, people come to know and trust us with a more complex project. Certain areas like of senior living around memory care areas, we've become a trade partner there that they know they can trust us on a intensive and sensitive kind of commercial landscape like that.
Really, and it's so important to have that strong relationship with your customer, and to also align with customers that align with your company values. That's something that we do. When we onboard clients, there's actually part of our onboarding deck where we share our values and what they're getting, but also what we expect back in return, because not every relationship's a great relationship. Yeah. And, we're very blessed to we still have our first client. And just like you have one of your first employees. And, that's really important to us, to make sure that we're, and transparency is one of those key values for us, to make sure that we're there for each other. It's a partnership. It's not transactional. We're not selling widgets here. You're not just selling trees. You're sensitive to what their goals are as well as your own.
Part of that is your natural growth trajectory from your earlier days in any business, and then once you've sort of earned that next level, your clients are hiring you for different reasons, and you do navigate and figure out who are the quality trade partners, who are the clients that know and appreciate what you bring to the table. I always say, they know, they're smart buyers, they're educated in the marketplace. They know that for certain things they could probably purchase it at a lower price.
Yes, that's always going to exist.
And there's always somebody out there, but once you've sort of crossed over and have a proven track record with your clients, and to your point, we're not bashful about sharing our AME Way fundamentals, and we expect them to not only hold us accountable to them, but it's how we expect them to behave towards us also.
Correct.
And through the years, coming up 25 years, there's clients that just don't align,
and that's okay.
You have to make these hard decisions, but if there's not an alignment in that most basic thing, then things probably aren't going to go well, and certainly not for the long-term relationship.
No, absolutely not. One thing I want to touch on before we kind of wrap things up is I know you are so involved in the community. Yeah. Not just networking. I'm not talking just about networking, but you are actively involved in the community, not just in mentoring other, entrepreneurs, but, just a broader sense. And I know that is personally, it's something that's rewarding, but I think a lot of business owners, don't understand how that connects back to the company, and if there's an ROI there beyond the good feelings. Yeah. So I was wondering if you could dive in, if somebody was skeptical,
Sure.
What would you say to them?
So it is a huge part of everything I do, again, personally and professionally. And I think at the root, one of our fundamentals is give back, and we encourage it across the company at all levels of the company. But I have had these conversations with some new, younger entrepreneurs, or people young in their career, say at a larger company. And I think that I was fortunate to have multiple very, very good business mentors in my life. And I think it's such a rudimentary thing, that you have to give to get back.
You do.
And it's a basic tenet in life. And I think that I can remember back even when we were small, we would never say no to, can you donate a tree to this? Can you? And I think it's important, no matter what size company you are, there is always an opportunity for some sort of meaningful give back. And it can be from the smallest thing. It doesn't have to be some massive project, but by all means, it has to be part of your culture, your being, your company. And along the ways, I found ways to give back from both business organizations, MBIA, ABC, various different networking groups, and I think so much of that really has to do with who you are, who you're going to show up. In my early days, I was a volunteer in the community, a volunteer firefighter and EMT, and often, people are like, why would you do that? You're not getting paid, and so it starts at that level. In addition to some of the boards I'm on, I've become involved in 2 or 3 nonprofit boards. Probably the most prominent is my National Ovarian Cancer Coalition. I'm on the national board there, and there's a personal connection to my family, and I'm constantly finding ways to give back, whether it's that organization. Another one we participate in is Classrooms to Community, and they have been just a tremendous partner over the years, bringing English classes to my Spanish-speaking workforce. And I was approached about being on their board, and it's like, another board, I probably should say no. But at the same time, it's just part of the give back. And I think if anybody isn't sure about this ROI thing, I almost hesitate to use the word ROI. The last thing that you want to go into any of these kind of give back things is really searching, looking for the ROI. If you are committed and if you participate, and when I say participate, that's not you show up at one event or you show up at one event every 6 months or every other year. You have to consistently show up, and you have to genuinely invest in whatever it is. And it could be from a soup kitchen to a book drive to a you name it in your community or with work. If you put in a consistent effort, some way, somehow, it will always be rewarding. And it doesn't always have to be it might be in new relationships, friendships, business relationships. You never know, but you have to be vulnerable and willing to commit to it as part of your regular program. And you shouldn't go into any of these things with sort of that eye on what is the ROI. I think almost, not the less you focused on it, but you have to trust that you've selected the right place to invest your time. You have to trust whatever it is, the mission of what you're participating in has some benefit that ultimately you're going to feel or see some way. And, I've made a couple of mistakes, but generally speaking, that when I look at across the board, some of my strongest personal relationships have come out of professional volunteering that I've done. And I think that it's expected as a business owner, as a steward of people's livelihoods. It's expected, and it's something that I think you have to find a way to carve out some part of your limited resources for that part of your life.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's not only is it rewarding, but I think the key point there, I think is really the takeaway. It's choosing and finding the right thing, and it has to align with you as the owner, not just, there's a very clear example there, with the community classrooms. That's very easy to see, from a benefit perspective, whereas a book drive might not be as easy to see. But, I used to explain, people like Christina, why are you doing like a food drive? And it's just like, well, if a kid's hungry, they're not going to be studying.
Right.
They're not
going to be top on their list.
Right. It's not going to be top on their. It's not going to be top on their list. And so, and that just translates later into someone who's not doing as well as school, and they're not doing as well as school. That means they're not going to be moving forward. It means they might not end up in an internship here one day or anywhere.
Right.
And that's what's important, I think, and rewarding, even to your point of being a steward of somebody who, employs people. Community has a much broader term to us, and we hold a bigger responsibility because of that. So.
Yeah, we didn't even touch on it, but part of our employees community is giving back to your employees. And one of many examples is every Thanksgiving we give everybody a turkey. And it's, when you look back, I think our number, we've given out 5,000 turkeys or something. And you could sort of second guess that all the time. A turkey is going to cost somebody, let's say $25, let's say $30. But it's a perfect example where it's become a tradition. It's become part of our culture. People look forward to it. A few years back, we started a thing where we hide a $100 bill in a few turkeys, and it's about.
So we're thawing the turkeys.
No. You don't have to.
You don't. Okay.
No. We have ways. But
I don't want to know.
It's really. Again, it's not always about the size of the effort, and that's why I say
it's the gesture.
Any size company can find a place, a way to do some sort of give back, both to their employees and to the community.
I think that's the perfect way to wrap things up. So, thank you so much for being here today. I can't wait to see what you guys get into next and celebrate that big number coming up.
Yes, thank you very much for having me today.
Absolutely. This episode is sponsored by Genesis AEC. Genesis AEC, where science meets the built environment. As an ENR number 5 ranked firm, we provide a single point of accountability for life sciences and advanced manufacturing. We integrate architecture, engineering, and construction with specialized CQV, asset management, and sustainability to deliver high-performance facilities nationwide. This episode is also sponsored by Steel Toe Communications. Steel Toe Communications builds marketing from the field up, using real projects, real crews, and real results. They help construction owners attract the right people, tighten up their messaging, and build long-term trust with marketing that reflects how their company actually operates, not something pulled from a template. And this episode is also sponsored by Illuminate. Illuminate empowers businesses with AI-driven marketing, revenue operations, and CRM implementation and training to drive sales growth and strengthen customer engagement. If your business is navigating the messy middle and you're ready to grow with purpose, with a partner that understands B2B business marketing and operations, visit illuminate.com to connect.